welcome back to the Math Dojo. We are here for another geometry lesson. This time it's more geared toward 8th grade. 7th graders, you guys can also learn from this too because it is building on upon what you're learning right now in class. So we are getting into today, we're going to talk a little bit about interior, exterior angles, alternate interior angles, congruency. There's going to be a lot of things. So we're going to first go over some much needed vocabulary. And then we're going to get into the fun, the fun part. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, so just like I said, we are getting into some vocabulary. The first word that we need to know is transversal. So what does the word transversal mean? Transversal is a line that crosses two or more lines. So the lines could be parallel, and then there's a line that crosses right down this way from these two lines. So transversal means a line that crosses two lines. So it could be more than two, okay, but I don't have more than two arms, so we're doing two, okay? But transversal means a line that crosses two or more lines, okay? Which may be parallel. Doesn't have to be parallel, but it usually. The next word that we're going to talk about is corresponding angles. Okay, so corresponding angles are two angles that are in the same place, okay, relative to the parallel lines or the transversal. The next word is alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles are a pair of angles between the parallel lines on opposite ends of the transversal. So opposite ends of that, okay? They're between the parallel lines on opposite ends, okay? Those are alternate interior, alternate, okay? So the next word is linear pair. A linear pair is just two angles that are adjacent and supplementary. So adjacent, remember, means next to. Okay, and supplementary means two angles that add up to make 180 degrees. That is a linear pair. The last word that we're going to get into today is same side interior angles. Okay? So same side interior angles are going to be on the same side of the transversal, which is that line. Okay? They're going to be on the same side of the transversal and between the lines cut by the transversal. Okay, that'll all make sense once we start talking about it. So when we do get into the example, if you don't remember what alternate exterior angles are, or if you don't remember what corresponding angles are, or a transversal is, please rewind it to this spot. I'll have the timestamps in the description box for where the vocabulary starts, where the example starts, and etc., so that you can go back and rewind to the different parts of the video. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so we have this diagram here, and the diagram shows three parallel lines, P, Q, and R, and it's cut by the transversal T, okay, to form all of these angles here, 1 through 8. So on the right side of the board, they're asking us, what are angles 1 and 4? What are angles 2 and 3, and so on. So right now we're taking a look at angle 1 here and angle 4. Now I'm looking at this angle here and this angle, making 180 degrees, as well as this next line. So if this line was the same as this, if I drug this line over here, angle 4 and angle 1 would be in the same position. So those are called corresponding angles, okay? The next one is angle 2 and angle 3. Okay, we have angle 2 and angle 3 on the same side of the transversal, okay? They are also interior angles, okay? So we're going to call those same side interior angles. So now we're looking at angle 3 and angle 4, okay? Angle 3 and angle 4 we know are vertical angles, okay? When two lines intersect, the opposite angles are vertical angles. These two angles here are also vertical angles. And last but not least, angle 4 and angle 6. So again, if I brought this line over to this line, they would not be in the same position. Angle 6's position would be here, right? So they are on alternate sides, okay? They are alternate interior angles. So again, this is not taking a look at every single angle, but you can take a look at the rest of the angles and see what else you can find and leave those answers down in the description box with your name next to it for some credit. Let's take a look at another example. All right, so in this example, we're going to take a look at angles that are congruent to angle 1 and congruent to angle 8. And then we're going to explain a little bit about why some of them are congruent to each other. We're not going to explain all of the angles that we can see here because it's gonna take a long time and it might get a little confusing at points. So right now we are going to just name off some of the angles that are congruent to angle 1. So angle 1 in this parallelogram A, B, C, D, angle 1 is here in this exterior angle here, okay? So we're looking at, just right off the bat, I can see that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they are vertical angles, okay? I'll try not to say the reasons why for all of them. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 1. I also see that angle 5 is congruent. Remember, the word congruent means that they are equal to each other. Okay, so also angle 7 then is congruent to angle 1. Okay, and then we also have angle 9 is congruent to angle 1. Okay, angle 9. Okay, we also then have angle 11 that is congruent to angle 1. And I hope you guys can follow along and see why before I tell you each one. But I will tell you a few of them. Let's see. Angle 1 is also congruent to angle 13 here. Okay, and then we can also see that it's congruent to angle 15 as well, right here. Okay. Okay, so these are all of the angles that are congruent to angle 1. Now we're going to take a look at some of the angles that are congruent to angle 8. So all of these angles are congruent to angle 8. Now we're going to just talk really quickly about some of the angles and a reason why. So let's take, where are we here? Let's take angle 6. Why would angle 6 be congruent to angle 8? Well, we did say that it was because they are vertical angles. Okay, let's pick another. Okay. All right, so going back, I just realized that you couldn't see in the video, but I chose one more for congruent to angle 8, which was angle 14. Okay, angle 14 here and angle 8 here. Good. Okay, so this is another good one. So we know that angle 14 and angle 10 are corresponding angles. Angle 14 and angle 10. They are corresponding angles. Again, go back to the definitions if you don't know what corresponding means. The timestamp is down in the description box. But angle 14 and 10 are corresponding angles, and angle 10 and angle 8 are alternate interior angles. I'm going to leave you with this last example to try on your own.